Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another COTC video. In today's video, I'm going to start my part 1 of my 3-part series of covering the big bad from the Master of Fame, Wealth, and Power storylines. The 1-year anniversary is next week, and while at the time of making this video, we have zero details of what is coming, we know one thing for sure, and that is that the trio of the big bads from the beginning of the game are coming as playable characters on the 26th at the launch of the anniversary event. So these videos are going to be covering these characters and their kits, and the first one that I'm going to be covering is Auguste, who is the big bad from the Master of Fame storyline. So if you're curious to know more about him and his kit, then keep on watching and let's get into it. Alright, so who is Auguste? And if I'm pronouncing that wrong, don't come for me, but Auguste, he is a thief who has the dark element, and his roles in this game are that he is a dagger, tome, and dark damage user, and he is a debuffer, buffer, and a breaker. And so for his stats, he's got some pretty high stats for compared to a thief. Higher HP, higher attack, higher defense, higher elemental defense, but he does suffer with a little bit lower speed, a little bit lower crit, and his elemental attack, which I'm personally am really bummed that his element attack is on the lower end, because he does have dark element magic attacks, which is something that I'm lacking for, and a big reason why I want to go after him, as well as his tome attacks. But it is great that he does have that higher attack stat, because with his notable skills, he does have a few tome attacks where there's a 3-hit one, and then there's a nuke one, which I think is something that we clearly are lacking in this game, because all the other scholars are based more on elemental attack. So the fact that he does have the 408 attack, even though he's a primary thief, he does have that other coverage. So having that nuke potential will be very, very much in handy for his diverse kit, and having the potential for a nuke for tome. And so yeah, for his notable skills, he's got a 4-hit single target dagger attack, 45 potency, a 3-hit single target tome attack, 65 potency, and a 4-hit single target dark attack at 45 potency. So these 3 skills right here are fantastic, because he can chip away at the shield points, which is the purpose of the battle system in this series. Not the best potencies, but as with all multi-hit attacks, they're going to be lower. And so I think it's great that the 3-hit single target tome attack is there, and the 4-hit single target dark attack. Again, I said a little bit earlier, but dark in general is something that I'm lacking on my account. So I think that he will be just a big plus for that. He has the 1-hit single target dagger attack that can inflict the dagger resistance down, 230 potency, huge, and when his passive, which we'll cover next, Passionate Rage, is active, it guarantees a crit and restores 3 BP. Fantastic attack right here. And with the dagger resist down, if he uses it multiple times in a row, or if there are other thieves, Therian or A2 on your team, like, such a great debuff to have. And now we have more characters who can inflict that weapon resistance down. He's got the 2-hit AoE dark attack, 95 potency. It's going to inflict defense and element defense down, and when his passive is active, it'll become 4 hits and the debuffs are extended. AoE defense down attacks are always great and welcomed. And now for his last notable skill I have listed, a 1-hit single target tome attack, 230 potency. It's going to inflict that tome resist down, and when his passive is active, guarantees crit and restores 3 BP. Excellent attack. Now, for that tome resistance down, is that huge or anything? I mean, it's good for him. For anybody else, it obviously is a plus to have, but it's not anything that's really groundbreaking or will shift any parts of the battle. Just in my opinion, most scholars just have low attack as it is. So his notable skills, I think, personally, in my opinion, I think he has the best kit out of all of the trio. Now, I know that there's going to be lots of people who think Arminia does, and there's going to be lots of people who think Auguste does, but just for me, and what I'm looking for in this trio, I think he's got the best kit, with being able to inflict those resistance down and the debuffs, and his passive is really great. He can restore his own BP, he can chip away at shield points. I think his kit is great for anybody who needs or anybody who's missing any of the dagger, tome, and dark attacks, and being able to inflict those resistance down as well. And so for his ultimate technique, it is a 5-hit single target dagger attack at 100 potency. This is a skill or a technique that you will definitely want to make sure that he's got that dagger resist down inflicted on enemies, and that he's got attack buffs, and that the enemy has defense down, and that will help him just be able to deal the most damage possible with that dagger. And so for his passives, here we go. So he has, when an ally dies or Auguste uses his ultimate technique, he will enter Passionate Rage, which gives him 30% attack and element attack up. So this is something that, you can use right away at the start of the battle. His ultimate technique with his accessory, which we'll cover here in a bit too, it's going to boost his offensives, and he will always have that passive up. And his second passive is the 20% dagger and tome damage up. So he's a beast with his high attack stat, and then dealing out the dagger and tome damage with his Passionate Rage. You can see that he has potential to deal a lot of damage. Now, I know we have a lot of thieves right now, a lot of good thieves. So I think the diversity of his kit is what makes him attractive to me, because I definitely don't need another thief at this point. But having the dark and the tome and dagger damage up with his passive, and the inflicting those resistance downs, just overall very solid, and strategically can be a very high damage dealer on the team. And so for his A4 accessory, stats 70 attack and 70 elemental attack, and the buffs for that is a 10% damage and tome damage up, so even more damage increase with those two weapon types. But what makes his accessory the best in the game is that his ultimate technique, or anybody who equips it, the ultimate technique gauge is 100% filled at the start of the battle. I mean, that speaks for itself why it's the best accessory in the game. Being able to start with it right away, depending on what ultimate technique you want to use as soon as possible. So, for instance, so he can have his buff, maybe Lynette's for all the attack buffs and that she can provide. So this accessory, everybody, in the Discord, and will always say, if you're going to go for Auguste, just go all out and get this accessory for him. Don't break your Ruby Bank, because there may be opportunities in the future to pull him, but if you have the resources, if you're a whale, whatever it is, however you play, having this accessory is a big game changer. And now for his pros, he's the strongest tome attacker in the game and has the attack stat to back it up, the passives to back it up, his accessory to back it up. The best accessory so far in the game, strong chips against dagger, tome, and dark, and his Passionate Rage passive buff just increases his attacks overall. And his cons, literally not a biggie at all, but his optimal damage potential relies on an ally dying or Auguste using his ultimate technique ASAP. It's not that big of a deal. He's already a super strong hitter anyway, but to make him the strongest possible, he will just need to have one of those conditions met so that he can have his passive active. So am I going to pull? Yes, I need dark damage really bad, and I like Auguste as a character. Very powerful nuke potential. His A4 accessory is the best in the game. Again, I don't think he's anything groundbreaking, and he might get outclassed in the future, but for me, he's the one that I've always known that I'm going to pull for once he comes, and I think he's the best of the trio. Armenia is fantastic too, don't get me wrong, she's great, but I do think Auguste is the best of the trio. And his sprite, Marvelous, Master of Fame was my favorite storyline and the one I started out with personally. So yeah, he's the one I'll be pulling for. And I think with the diversity of his kit as a whole, being able to inflict those resistance downs, all the ways to buff up his attack and elemental attack, and to increase specifically his dagger and tome attacks, his nukes and his shield chipping potential, a huge asset. And again, for me, I don't really solely go after characters who are meta. I prefer to go after characters who I actually really like, and so he just happens to be one of them. And so I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Are you excited for Auguste? Are you excited for the trio in general? Who do you plan on pulling for? I will be having guides coming out on Armenia and Tytos this week as we kind of gear up towards the 1 year anniversary celebration, which is huge and very exciting. So I'm really curious to hear if you're excited for him. Do you think he's great? Am I overhyping him? Yeah, let me know down in the comments below. Curious to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much as always for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.